Hey everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. It's a new day, and we're going for Win 60. Like that book and then a movie with Dakota Fanning because of Win 60. Great stats, V6J9AJEQ, relative to yesterday, at least. And then, I never know how this item works. It summons a random boss. Is that correct? Once every 12 rooms, it summons a random boss. As far as dude, I think the idea of a 12-room charge on a spacebar item is something that I hope they actually explore a little bit more of in Revelations. Repentance. There we go, dude. I don't look. I'll tell you. When I watch Jeopardy, it's actually like clockwork. Movies, music, sports. History, at least North American history, I'm on lock. As soon as they have a category that's like, you know, books of the Bible, I'm like, ah, crap. Every answer, I'm like, Paul of Tarsus, they're like, what are you talking about? The question was, who is the Son of God? And I'm like, is it not Paul? It's not Paul? Anyway. The only other category that gives me that much trouble is any European monarchy questions. They like England. I'm somewhat like I know a couple. Like I know that during the American Revolution, the King of England was King George III, because of Hamilton, and then of course King Henry VIII is famous for killing all of his wives, or most of them, and also for looking svelte in portraits, despite the fact that that doesn't seem plausible. Anyway, we're moving on here one more floor. Feeling pretty good. And then somehow he's related to Anne Boleyn. But anyway, and by related, I mean, I believe also murdered. But anyway, I don't know, I feel weird saying murdered. It's not like I'm worried about King Henry VIII's feelings, but let's not say murdered, let's say had executed. Oh, crap. Because it's not like he, like, went to her estate and was like, bang, and shot her with, like, a flintlock pistol or a Welsh longbow or something like that, you know? An English longbow. I don't know. I'm not trying to get in trouble here. If anything, you know, anytime I get a Jeopardy question correct about the Bible, and this is not satirical, it's almost exclusively because of Isaac. I'm like, I know there's, you know, Genesis is the first book of the Bible. And then I think Revelations is of one of the Bibles. I don't know. Revelations is the last book. And then there's, like, you know, others. Psalms. Is Psalms one? I feel like I should know this. I mean, I named the original Isaac episodes sequentially after the names. Oh, we almost made it too. Of the books of the Bible. But that was like 9 years ago. And it was 3 minutes of work, so it didn't leave a lasting impression. Anyway, what am I talking about? I don't know, man. The gaps in my knowledge, I guess. I do feel like when you're young, your brain is like a piece of chewing gum, right? You pick up stuff you don't even want to pick up. You pick up stuff you can never forget no matter how much you try. As an adult, I'm not going to say you get bad brain. But it's not as much of a steel trap, you know? You let stuff slip through your fingers there. Like, I've been, not trying, but, like, there are things that I look up now, like, once a year. And then when I look it up, I'm like, I know I looked this up last year, but I can't remember what it is. And then as soon as I see it, I'm like, of course, I knew that. Which is possibly why we end up having Isaac episodes over and over that constantly have the same themes and etc, etc. Like, I gotta be honest, I've looked up, because I always get self-conscious about the fact that I can name a lot of American presidents. I mean, mind you have had more than Canada has had prime ministers, but I can name, like, you know, less than 12 Canadian prime ministers, but I can name like, I don't know, probably like 38 American presidents off the top of the dome piece, right? So then I look up the Canadian prime minister list, and I'm like, ah, very interesting. All right, I'll never forget that. And then like a month later, I'm like, Sir John A. Macdonald, Robert Borden, and then I'm like, okay, now to get to my lifetime. Mulroney, Chrétien, Paul Martin. Dude, we're taking too much damage here. Stephen Harper, Justin Trudeau. And then I'm like, of course you got Diefenbaker, you got Lester B. Pearson. You got Mackenzie King. You've got Pierre Trudeau. And then I'm like, John Turner, Kim Campbell, Joe Clark. There you go, I'm tapped out. That's all I got. I'm sorry, it's all I got. But American presidents, I'm like, okay, it's Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, no. Quincy Adams, Madison, Monroe, Jackson, Van Buren, William Henry Harrison. I'm willing to admit I don't know who comes after William Henry Harrison. But then you get into, your Buchanan, Lincoln, Grant, sort of, you get the idea. I get a little spotty once I lose the narrative thread, but... Okay, range upgrade, not what we're looking for. It's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But this is the kind of run that could just sort of trip you up a little bit. I actually think we will look... I want to get a Spirit Heart, and I'm willing to fight for getting a Spirit Heart here. This is the kind of run that is threat level. I don't know if I would say crimson, but it's, you want to do the right things on this run to not leave anything on the table unnecessarily. That's my definite take. So oh, dude, if you could just give me a frickin' bomb. Get in there, no problem. Just 2 cents. I actually think at this point, I think I would rather have a bomb than buy a Spirit Heart directly, although the Spirit Heart historically no longer pays out with bombs in this game because we live in a cruel universe, but I hope that you have witnessed character growth because, this is not in my old wheelhouse to go back and actually shoot all of the poops. Especially on a Curse of the Unknown floor. I don't know why I said it was such a strange cadence. Curse of the Unknown floor. There you go. Curse of the Unknown. You've seen Frozen 2? Curse of the Unknown. Preparing myself for the Disney phase. Thank you. I knew that was going to pay out because it was a tough nut to crack. All right. This separates the... I honestly think this is what separates the, the 20 streaks from the 200s, is having the willingness to go the extra mile like this and, persevere through boredom at all costs. And that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. This is our shop. We should buy... There's no bomb for sale. We will buy the Spirit Heart and leave. Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to bother going for a reroll. That's like, We're throwing a little unnecessary risk into this. Alright, alright. So I think... Here's one you're not going to hear out of me all that often. It is a spooky run. Straight up, just a kind of a spooky run. You knew that was coming. That could have been a full heart, too. So you're very glad that you bought that heart recently. Oh my god, dude. I think our most likely path for success, sincerely, rolls through help. A library. A library with Book of Revelation, Satanic Bible. We can start to talk about good stuff happening there. But this is actually pretty spooky. Our actual stats are not very good. But Book of Revelations. Eye of Belial is very nice. Goathead is great, although it's not what we're looking for at present. Of course, we always find ourselves on the flooded caves. This is potentially a big moment. We have definitely enough to go to the shop. So you want to talk about doing the little things right? I was just going to say, I'm not even going to pick up any coins from this until we get a chance to see if we get the petrified poop. We didn't get petrified poop, but instead we got a different trinket out of the golden poop. I would have preferred that it went the other way, but this is still pretty useful. I'd really prefer not to go to the big rooms just yet. It's just a little spooky. Wow, interesting. This should be fine. We just want to stay very far away. And we want to stay as little on the, like, horizontal line of sight as possible. Inevitably, I was just going to say, inevitably we're going to have to mix it up at some point. Because I kind of hate being here, too, because of the homing shot, for the record. There we go. I don't know, man, because, like, Counterfeit Penny's really good right now, but also, so is the left hand to possibly give us red chests with Spirit Hearts. But I think, you know, Spirit Hearts are... Oh my god, it's the same frickin' room, dude. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? It's like the only enemy... Oh no. In this entire game for whence there is, like, no dodging. I think I'm on 0 HP, dude. I genuinely think I'm on 0 HP. Work with me. That's not working with me. That's very scary. Please, I beseech you, allow me access to the shop. Not a renegade shot from one of these. Please. Please. A consumable. The shop. To shop. Perchance to dream. I'm not dead. A consumable. just let me get a bomb, dude. I can't buy anything. I just need a bomb. I can't get that bomb back there. I'm dead. I'm dead. It's over. That pains me a great deal. It pains me a great deal to lose on win 59 after going through what we just went through. What do? You restart. TE41HXNE. What happened? Oh man, that's a flood of chemicals. Losing for the first time in 2 months. What happened? I threw away too much HP in the early game. As much as I would love to be like the seed screwed me. I mean, to lose the seed has to screw you a little bit. We did, you know, we were not given a fortuitous situation, and the flooded caves were just merciless. Like not getting any bombs for the entirety of the floor. Not having quite enough money to buy a Spirit Heart in the shop. Like, all that stuff adds up. You know, we were legitimately right there. All we need, if we got one extra Spirit Heart, our odds of winning go like through the freaking stratosphere. But you live and you learn, and we get over it. You know, it's not our first time ever losing a streak, and in all likelihood, it won't be our last time either. We rebuild from 0, and we again, you know, rather than focus on the negative, we take pride in the positive. You know, there was a good streak. One of our best ever. Second best of the year. But I gotta just wax nostalgic for 5 minutes ago. It really did feel like that was the streak that was going nuclear, right? Like that one was going 20,000 leagues over the sea. Whatever that means. Okay. Tears Up's pretty good. Of all the runs we had yesterday, I wouldn't have thought of all the runs we've had, I wouldn't have thought that today's would be the one that would go off. But it is what it is, you know? And the thing is, the worst thing I think you can do... Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm an adult. I can live with it. But, like, the worst thing you can do, I think, is just be like, we're yeeting the video. You know, we're getting back on the horse here. By yeeting the video, I mean, like, ending the video after 12 minutes. Because you took a loss and you're frustrated. I think, though, it might be a little, you know, sure, why not? I know the D12 I underrated. Let me convalesce here. But I think you might be like, I don't really want to do it right now. I hate the game. But, you know, you gotta get... I've already killed you. You gotta get back on the horse here. Let me see. I got a Discord message from my good friend Malf. My man's hitting me with like some Jurassic Park verbiage. Talking about Spelunky 2, he said, "You're merely at the tip of the iceberg." Anyway, I don't begrudge it. I asked for it specifically. Big fan. All right. Anyway. What are we up to? It's a weird day for me. Like, today is Wednesday, the 23rd of September. It's a Wednesday, I'm not streaming, you know? It's a situation where, well, I don't know why I'm making it weird. I'm taking, you know, 5 days off in advance of, from streaming in advance of the baby getting here to help get prepared, but also, you know, just, I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One is, to help get prepared. Another one is, hold on. It helps me, backlog a little bit extra for some YouTube stuff, so that maybe, like, don't get me wrong, being on Twitch is awesome, and is actually, like, probably a larger part of my duties. I shouldn't have taken that yet. It didn't matter. A larger part of my duties these days than YouTube, maybe? I'm not sure. It's still pretty close. But I can always come back on Twitch. On YouTube, it's more like, I don't want you to forget that I exist. Yo, you want to talk about good luck? Now we're talking. I will use one more bomb. I'll use a few more bombs to see if we get anything good. I mean, this run is actually... I hate to say it, but it's already set in stone. If we had just gotten this start instead of the other start, oh man, who knows what dreams may have come as a result of that. Phrasing? Alright, you know, I bet we can get 2 for 1 here. I'll take it. It's a pretty bad investment overall, but yeah. So I'm taking a little time off, a little extra YouTube focus time. I don't have a key because I used the key to get in here. But it's weird to be like on a Wednesday and not streaming. Like this is straight up. It has happened before, but it's insanely rare for me to be like, I have to call the stream today and not be away. To be at home and take a day off feels unusual. It still feels a little bit surreal. Like, I don't know, I'm not used to having that like 2 to 5 p.m. window on Wednesday and Thursday. Mind you, it's a brief feeling of surreality, you know, followed by the birth of our child. So sure, it's gonna be a bit of a surreal week. Either way, it's just a little... It's not weird in a bad way, it's just like, it's atypical. Definitely we want this. Just, I'm scratching my brain trying to come up with like a good analogy for it. We want to pop this. It's like I'm trying to think that feeling of weirdness like you get when you start at like a new workplace on day one. You get introduced to everybody, but you don't really know what anybody's like. Like they're like, "Hey, this is Susan from HR," and you're like, "Oh, she looks like a nice lady." No, it turns out she's a total B. And then, yo, that's Troy. Oh, Troy, he looks like trouble. Actually, he's a really nice guy. Hey, that's Brad. Yo, Brad and I are kindred spirits. Not really. You don't even know that, you know, 3 months from now, Brad is going to get fired from the office. You're all going to come back from a corporate lunch, and your boss is going to be like, so some of you may have noticed Brad's not here anymore. It's because he's been fired for misconduct. And you go, what? And then you hear awesome gossip. Like, people were like, yeah, you know, he has he drinks too much. And then he comes into the office and he spends an hour in the bathroom multiple times per day. It's like, you know, it had to happen. And you're like, what? Nobody tells me this. I'm basically I'm the temp. You know, it's before it all those revelations come to light. When you're still, you know, like, oh, I'm just trying to remember your names. Brad rhymes with bad, which is what you are at your job. Look, the joke popped into my head fully formed. I had to go with it. Can you blame me? I'm not saying, and the names have been changed to protect the guilty here, but I'm not saying he's bad at his job. But you know, he might have been great at his job, but he was like a really, really bad at showing up for it. When he was there, oh man, he was a wizard on the keys. It was like trying to buy tickets to go see a Guns N' Roses concert in the early 1990s. It's like you don't even know if they're gonna show up. All right, so we use the key to get a bookworm, basically. How do I feel about this? I mean, not that bad. It would be nice if we got a key as well and could go to our item room, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think, you know, I don't evaluate the strength of the Isaac run by, like, you know, oh, did we miss an item room or whatever? I look at it instead, like, look at our stats here compared to our stats on our last run, and then, like, you'll see why I'm not so disappointed. I don't want to go in there yet, because I think we're going to lose our golden spirit heart. I have never been fired from a job. I will say, when I taught in South Korea, I was not approached, and this is not, I mean, I was already, it was a mutual not fit. A bad fit, I should say. Like, I was a below average ESL teacher. Because, like, you know, I think teaching adults and even teenagers, I got no problem with. When it comes to actually, like, teaching and maintaining order in a class full of children, like, this is how I sound, right? Sometimes I'd have to, like, take over a kindergarten class, and Danielle teacher's like, hey, everybody! And they're all like, Danielle teacher, we love you like you're our real mom. And then, you know, Danielle teacher, you know, goes back to Canada because, you know, the job is heavily underpaid, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, it's Ryan teacher. Hello class, repeat after me. You know, I got a stern demeanor. Not really, but I have a muted demeanor, I suppose, in some ways. I think that it resonates much more with you know, the older child demographic instead of the high energy, like, kids programming, right? But yeah, I was, some of the other teachers, the principal was like, you know, you could stay for an extra year if you want. And they were like, no, this job sucks. Me, they were just like, best wishes. And I was like, see ya never. I will say, and this is not to necessarily strengthen my point, the last interaction I had with my school that I used to work at is on my final day, looking at the plane, because if you've never heard of this, like, basically there's a lot of perks to teaching English overseas, or at least there were 10 years ago. I don't know what it's like anymore. The salary's not good at all. However, they do give you, they pay your rent, which is, I mean, it lowers your expenses a lot, for sure. And then they do buy your ticket to and from, which seems like a perk, but then it's like, I mean, how else are they gonna get you there? And honestly, for like a major, you know, kind of industry, buying a coach ticket on an international flight 2 times is not really like that. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to say, oh, look at Mr. Moneybags here. I'm like, I mean, you're charging the parents, you know, like, I don't know, $1,000 per head or something. Well, probably not, but you know, you're charging the parents a lot, and then you're like, oh, the plane ticket. Isn't that a perk? You get to sit in a crappy chair and watch 6 movies and eat some microwaved bokkeumbap. Isn't that a cultural experience? But anyway, so they do buy your plane tickets home, which is actually kind of horrible because they will get you the cheapest flight possible instead of a direct flight that would cost them like an extra $75. But anyway, again, I'm not trying to complain too much, but it was an insanely long trip. Regardless, on my final day, I looked at my tickets and I went, because I had to take 3 flights. I was like, my first flight is from my destination to where I currently live. That doesn't seem right. And then they argued with me for like, I don't know, half an hour. They were like, you see, like it says the city you're in, and then it says the city you want to go to. And I was like, yeah, but it says I'm leaving the city I want to go to, and I'm arriving at the city I'm already in. That's going to present a problem for me, because my flight after that is from the city I'm supposed to go to Canada. So we gotta figure out what's going on here. I'm not gonna show up at the airport at 5 a.m. and give them my boarding pass. They're gonna think like I've lost my mind. You're already here. Bad news, you can't use this ticket. We're gonna use this just to get into the boss trap room. Bad news, you can't use this ticket. Good news, you're already apparently where you want to go. So you know what? We've saved you a lot of time today. Anyway, they did fix it. I felt bad because I'm pretty sure the administrative assistant who booked the tickets in the first place got reprimanded for booking the ticket wrong and having to pay like $100 cancellation fee from our principal, who was kind of stern, let's put it that way. But I was also like, I gotta get out of here. This is crazy. Anyway, what the heck was I even talking about? I don't know. Jobs, I guess. So anyway, that's what I was saying. It's weird. It feels unfamiliar to not be gearing up for a stream today. Not that you really gear up for it, but you know what I mean. Let's pop this down. This run is basically super guaranteed. I'm still disappointed we lost the streak, but I think, you know, I've done a good job at distracting myself. I feel much more at peace with it now. Not like, oh, there's nothing I could do. Because I think we could have played... Like, on the flooded caves, I think, you know, we ran into a lot of trouble that it's kind of hard to prepare for. You know, the 2 rooms full of those enemies that are really, really tough to dodge. Maybe we could have killed them a little faster by being a bit more aggressive. But it is what it is. But definitely, like, the floor before, we didn't have to take so much damage. That's kind of a... It's a whiff you're gonna regret. You're gonna see it in your dreams, but you know what? That's how you learn. Very, 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 very few people are, you know, spit out fully formed into the world and, you know, perfect at anything, you know? Amazing. Amazing. Now, some people, it takes longer than others, like me, for example. But it is what it is. Well, we got something to work toward. I do appreciate the key. Little bit overboard on the keys, but I do appreciate the keys. Anyway, what else is going on? Not that much, honestly. Just navigating, like, the weirdness of you know, having a pregnancy during this COVID period. It's like, now I think I talked about it on the show. I didn't really talk about it in the, like, on the NLSS. I didn't really talk about it in any YouTube videos, but, you know, my parents are coming. Luckily, they're not out of country. They're just out of province. Why would you use a... Actually, now that I think about it, I think it's worth 2 bombs. Maybe we can get a... I thought we can get away with just 1, but... in order to see us for the baby, I'm very, very lucky. I was kind of dreading talking to my parents about, like, you know, hey, when you're here, we have to social distance. It's like, don't get me wrong. I was gonna talk to them about it, and we were gonna practice social distancing, but it was also like, you know, this complicated sort of emotional feeling of, like, my mom's crazy excited. This is her first grandchild. you know, and they're flying across the country to be here, and then I gotta be like, well, you know, we can't really hang out for the first couple of days, because then we're going to the hospital probably to get this, you know, to have the delivery, and we obviously, I don't want to get sick, I don't want Kate to get sick, I also don't want to expose, you know, our infant to the illness potentially, but I definitely also on top, not surpassing any of that, but I don't want to be like part of a news story that's like internet pseudo celebrities flippant ignorance of COVID guidelines leads to, you know, hospital outbreak. That's kind of bad press, right? And also like would make me be a bad person. But I'm lucky my parents are also very sane. And they were like, yeah, we talked about it, so I don't think we should, like, we'll fly in. We're just gonna stay, like, at our hotel for, like, a week, basically, and we can see each other from a few meters away, and, you know how it goes. And, you know, then, after our quarantining period is done, then we can figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I think, like, this is a really bad year to have had a pregnancy. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's any excuse, because I don't think any excuse for, you know, your life decisions is warranted. You know, it's not like, I mean, I'm 31 years old. We conceived of the idea to have a child in a pre-COVID world. You know, when we were like, I think the timing's really good. And then all of a sudden, 2020 was like, a frick you, I won't do what you tell me. A frick you, I won't do what you tell me. Okay, but, you know, there's going to be presumably a lot of COVID babies that are happening where, like, the decision to have the child was made during COVID. Which might be the right decision for you or your family, but all I'm saying is we need more sympathy because we didn't know what we were getting into here. And honestly, it has actually been, like, pretty fine. Just some doctor's appointment weirdness, like me never being able to go to them. But the whole, like, you know, having family around to hold the child around the time of the birth is definitely something you can't just, like, flippantly do. So, which is the way that it should be, obviously. I'm not trying to say that it's busted, but just something unusual to think about. But I definitely, like, I think if you had a kid in mid-2019, you're probably feeling, like, okay right now, because you're like, maybe they're not in daycare yet, or maybe they're in daycare, but I can just keep them at home for like, don't get me wrong, I understand that you want to, like, you know, go back to work. Like, as much as I would like for things to be, I mean, it's a prickly subject, right? As much as I would like things to be a little bit more shut down so that cases fall, which would really benefit me in being able to, you know, feel more secure about having, you know, my family welcome the addition to my new family. I also understand that we're in a pretty, like, charmed position where we work from home to begin with, and we're like, hey, just shut everything down, and you're like, well, you know, I work at a factory or something, or, you know, I have to be in the office, and apart from that, I also have 2 kids that, you know, I need to either get, like, a full-time babysitter for, or have them in daycare, you know, and I'm not really getting into that, but I think if you have a very, very young child, like under the age of maybe 1.5, you're probably like, this isn't that bad. I feel for me, because I am me. Having a newborn is going to be a little trickier, but still, you know, very much looking forward to it, obviously. I mean, these are good items, dude. But then also, I really feel for you if, like, this was supposed to be your kid's first year of school. Or even, like, if they're just young school-age children. I'm like, that's a tough position to put a kid and a parent into, right? To have to be like, well, you can go back to school, which would really benefit me, because then I could, you know, go back to working at my office. But on the other hand, I don't know, it kind of seems a little dicey right now. But do I really want to, like, homeschool? Like, I mean, it's just complicated. I'm glad that, at least as of right now, I don't have to make that decision. And we will take And I'm very sympathetic to those of you who have had to make that decision. Kate and I have talked about it, and we were like, you know, if our kid was like 3 or 4, what would we do? And I'm like, I think we would have homeschooled for sure, but again, it's kind of like, I mean, I put myself in other people's shoes. We have the opportunity to do it because we have flexible hours. I mean, it would still be an extreme inconvenience, don't get me wrong. But you know, it would be something we would at least be more easily able to do than a situation where, you know, a parent or 2 parents work outside of the home. Anyway, just kind of, you know, not really trying to make it like overly about the factors in society, more just like, you know, there's definitely adjustments you make. Again, the pregnancy was like, we thought we were making adjustments due to COVID, but it's not really the case. You know, for the most part, we were pretty much just, you know, the only difference is I would drive Kate to the doctor's appointments, but they'd be like, you can't come in, sir. And I was like, okay. After the, well, I'm really in advance of the labor itself, or the delivery, and then after the birth as well is where it's going to be a little bit, that's where it's going to sting, is to be like, you know, hey mom and dad, thanks for flying in, but also like we can't really see you for a few days, but also there's no way to get around it really. So, you know, I'm very lucky to have parents who are on the same level as us in that respect, and are not like, you know, like I was kind of worried, and I mean, honestly, this is probably like a little bit sexist, but because it's me, I blame the culture. But I was like, I worried that maybe my mom was going like a little bit baby crazy. I don't know if that's like a thing, but again, it's her first grandchild, and I was an only child, so this is really like her second time. She was the youngest child in her family too. So in my head, and none of this may matter for the record, but in my head, I was like, I don't know if like evolution is gonna let her be okay with not seeing the baby, and this is going to be like a fight or something, even though my mom has always been very reasonable. So, you know, again, I'm very thankful that that was not the case, and maybe is not even really a thing that exists in the first place. But you know, these are the kind of things, if you have an anxious mind, then you can understand. You concoct fictions in your head, and then you go, well, I could solve this by just having a conversation with the person, but I don't want to have a conversation with them because that's going to be mighty unpleasant when we have the disagreement, and then all of a sudden, you know, you build it up for like weeks in your head, and then when you have the conversation, they're like, yeah, I agree, and you're like, what? Why did I even, why did I stress myself out over this? Getting better at it. Was much worse at it, or about it, I should say, as a youngster, especially as a young adult. Because as a kid, you can kind of get away with being avoidant. Even as like an adolescent, you can have like your, you know, your mom or your dad do your dirty work for you to some extent. And plus, you don't have that many responsibilities as a child. The worst period for my like avoidant anxiety was definitely like young adult, like late college years, where you have responsibilities, but also you're like, well, I really don't want to be the guy who's like 22 and is like, Mom, can you call like the Canada Revenue Agency for me? How did I get better about it? Well, it's an active monitoring process. I still gotta do it myself. Sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet. I know, well, here's the thing. I think there's a fallacy, like, in life sometimes. People think there's some kind of silver bullet that's like, you know, I have this kind of anxiety. I'm not trying to advocate, by the way, for, like, no therapy. You know, if you know, that's a you decision. If you know, feel it's warranted, I would never discourage it. I'm just saying, for, you know, my light bad habit of it, you know, I don't think there's a magic bullet where you're like, well, if you really squeeze your index finger into your thumb, then you'll get the power you need to. No, sometimes you just gotta like bite the bullet and do it. And like, I know that sounds like a forehead comment, but it's kind of like a forehead practice. You know, what do you mean? You got any tips to get over like avoiding anything that might be a problem, yeah, you know, approach it faster instead of procrastinating on unpleasant things. Oh, well, if I could do it, you can do it. You just got to stop, you know, forgiving yourself for being procrastinating about it. You know, you're an adult. You don't need to set up like a weird economy like, oh, if I do this, then I'll buy myself NBA 2K21, you know? Just you got to do things for their own benefits sometimes instead of wrapping it in like an extrinsic reward. But anyway, that combined with just, you know, doing it a lot helps out a lot. But at the same time, still occasionally slip into it for sure. Either way, we're 40 minutes to do these Isaac runs. This run is fine, but the video is long because of the fact that we had that early loss. But either way, I'm very pleased that we'll at least have a fun video. The fact that there was an L attached to it, you're not gonna believe me, but I'm kind of over it. If we're gonna take an L, I much prefer taking it early, so that we can recover, and maybe, how did we reroll and get new stats? Oh, it's probably just the stats from our items, taking a second to update. But I'm glad that we can get a chance to kind of start off on the right foot, instead of starting off on, like, the angry foot. This is fine. Certainly not the first time we lost the streak this year. And you know what? Look on the positives. Now you can be here from step 0 on the streak if you weren't here from step 0 earlier. But yeah, so suffice to say, it's like I'm prepared for this to be one of the strangest weeks of my life and one of the, you know, one of the most exciting, one of the most stressful. Is an enemy somewhere? That was weird. It's gonna be a wild one, but you know, I guess I can't really say it's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but I think having your first child is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, you ever see those shows, and you don't need me to tell you what network they're on, but it's like a family that has like 12 kids? Like, when you have like your 12th kid, do you even like... I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm like... Do you even treat it as like a special day anymore? Or are you just like, oh yeah, honey, you've got your due date on Wednesday. Oh, that's right, it slipped my mind because I was too busy taking care of our other 11 kids. Ah, geez, I hope they can expedite the process. I'm supposed to get my nails done at 4, you know? Like, isn't that what is... Probably not is the answer, but I don't know. I think even the most seemingly unusual things can become routine given enough exposure, right? I'm very over those shows. They're all the same. Like every single one of those shows checks the same box, which is the parents being like, "I'm really stressed," and then there's always like the oldest kid is like a teenager and they're grappling with, you know, coming from a family that has like conservative ideals, but they're also a teenager, so they're like, I want to listen to music with electric guitars, and the parents are like, this is ridiculous, but it's also a great 10-episode arc. And then I don't know what it is. I guess to get to a noteworthy number of children, you kind of have to have some twins thrown in there. But there's always like a group of kids called the twins in every single one of those shows. It's like we got a teenage son, a teenage daughter, a couple of adolescent children, a couple of kids that are around like, you know, 8, 9 years old, and then the youngest are always like the twins. Hey Janie, have you seen the twins? Those twins are always getting into trouble. And then they're getting the names confused. It's good wholesome entertainment. I'll stop my discussion there, because sometimes I get myself in trouble when I talk about these shows, because I say things that are a little, perhaps, ignorant, or if not ignorant, at least divisive, like, you know, What's it like to have a high enough opinion of yourself that you want to create, like, you know, 12 copies from 2 people? The thing is, it's not that I say it because the majority of people watching this are going to disagree with me. If anything, I think I hold the plurality opinion, if not the consensus, and I'm happy to author its decision. However, these aren't the, you know, we should be sowing unity in these videos and not division. I mean, TLC is basically like the whole network. Its entire MO for content is basically just like, I will watch that, but I would never do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Apologies for going back to 1, but here we are. At least we're not staying at 0, and we're not going to the negatives. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!